now officially on the French electoral map. In June, French people living here will be voting in elections for the National Assembly for their new very own deputy for Northern Europe. It's one of the reasons the socialist presidential candidate hits our streets next week, as Andrew Crine reports.
The seventh-largest French city is not actually in France. With a Gallic population thought to be larger than Lille, Bordeaux or Strasbourg, parts of the capital...
Reporting there, I'm pleased to say I'm joined by Axel Lemaire, who is the Socialist Party candidate for Northern Europe, and quite a constituency, covering 10, 11 countries?
Indeed, 10 countries in total, running from Dublin to Riga. Right. And including Ireland, the UK, the Nordic states and the Baltic states.
But if you were successful, you would represent?
One seat in the National Assembly.
That's quite a campaign trail. Where are you going tomorrow?
So tomorrow I'll be staying in London to prepare Mr. Hollande's visit. Right. But then I think I'll be visiting 5 or 6 countries in the next coming month.
My God, that's quite a campaign trail though, isn't it?
It is, with my backpack.
You have a better chance of picking up votes here in London than, say, Latvia. I mean, is it
true that there is a strong French community working in the city, but not only
the
French
but
people...
are you hacking the financial system? Because it'll mean all the banks will leave Paris and come here to London. Break in here. I'm going to ask him to ask you a question in French, because you were schooled in France for 10 years, I'm told. No, not really, but you were schooled in France for 10 years.
That's true, yes, and in fact I got my first political experience in France, because the president then was Valéry Giscard d'Estaing. It was at a time when the French farmers were burning British sheep. If you recall, they were setting fires to lorries that had British sheep in, so I asked him a question about what did he think, how well were the British sheep doing, and he was rather thrown by the question. But,
Karen, what's your feeling about this constituency, this idea of representing, bringing these people together? Well, and Westminster, so part of your constituency, has the highest number of French residents.
Absolutely, and I'm exhausted listening to it, because sometimes I complain when there's a signal failure on the Bakerloo line, and it's nothing, but I'm delighted to say that Axel is in fact a constituent of mine.
Oh, right.
Of course, I've been living in London for the past 10 years.
So you're campaigning a lot more.
I am rooting for her absolutely all the way down the line. I think she'd be a fantastic candidate. I think what's very interesting is that there are an awful lot of younger French people who are working in London precisely because of the crisis of unemployment in Europe, who are, as you say, a very anti-Sarkozy.
Tom Brake wants to know. Tom Brake wants to know about your election expenses, all this travelling around with all these countries. Must be an enormous cost.
You're asking me about English sheep.
No, don't answer about sheep.
Right, you're not burning our sheep anymore.
No, I promise.
What about the expenses? It costs a hell of a lot to try and campaign on this one, doesn't it?
It does cost. It's very regulated, actually, electoral expenses in France. The rules are different. We're not allowed to receive any private funding from companies or public organisations, for example, and there is a cap on it.
Well, very briefly, because we're running out of time. Go on.
If you get elected as the Member of Parliament for Northern Europe, does that mean you'll have a constituency office, as we do in each of our constituencies, in each of those 10 countries?
Do you know what? I think there's scope for a follow-up. You've made that case. We'll come back to this issue when we can. Well, what else has been happening in this city this week? Here's a flavour in 60 seconds.